Welcome to the Great Reboot. I'm Tori Ryden. In 2015, Microsoft guru Bill Gates warned that a viral outbreak will likely happen every 20 years or so. He said that in an interview with the Financial Times. For the past decade, infectious disease expert Michael Osterholm has also been warning of a global pandemic. Virologist and flu expert Robert G. Webster predicted an upcoming flu pandemic in his book, Flu Hunter, Unlocking the Secrets of a Virus, which he published in December. In it, when questioning whether another deadly disruptive pandemic is possible, he wrote, "The answer is yes. It is not only possible, it is just a matter of time." And the late self-proclaimed psychic Sylvia Browne wrote in her 2008 book, End of Days, Predictions and Prophecies About the End of the World, that in around 2020, a severe pneumonia-like illness will spread throughout the globe, attacking the lungs and bronchial tubes and resisting all known treatments. So, were people truly getting a glimpse of the future? Did they see what we are now dealing with? My very special guest, Vicki Monroe, is considered to be one of the world's leading psychic mediums whose gifts go far beyond basic spirit messaging to include spiritual counseling, health and wellness counseling, criminal cold case investigation, and much, much more. Vicki Monroe was born with the ability to see, hear, and speak to the spirit world. And it's my privilege to now welcome Vicki to the Great Reboot. Hi, Vicki.
Hi, my friend. How are you?
Well, I'm doing pretty well. It's interesting to look back at all of these. I mean, there were even prognosticators like Nostradamus. Some
Yes.
people will say, nah, and that was in the 15th century, and that
Right.
he had actually, it's hard because he had quatrains that were kind of a different language than what we speak today. So there are all kinds of interpretations. But, this is not a new idea.
No.
That people may have actually seen this coming.
Oh, I think absolutely. It seems like every 100 years or more, some form of an illness sweeps through. And I've had people tell me via email or through a chat or whatever, that some believe that this is a cleansing of some sort. And I thought that was interesting. I feel like it's probably just a virus that's, come about, for me anyway. But this stuff has happened throughout our history. The bubonic plague, the Black Plague, the Spanish flu, which was the most recent in 1918.
100 years ago, like you said.
100 years,
yeah.
Exactly. 100 years now. And I don't know how else to describe it, except that nature just seems to every now and then throw us something. And there have been warnings. I mean, we have been warned about this from scientists and doctors and some of the best, like Bill Gates. They've been talking about this for a long time. And in my personal view, I think we were caught a little unaware that, nobody thinks it's going to happen in their time, but here it is.
So all of this, I'm sure your phone and your emails are just kind of bursting at the seams,
Right.
and people messaging you. People are handling this or not handling this in so many different ways. And one of the things that we're all seeing is kind of that, and feeling, I will say, that sense of kind of panic. And it seems that people who, there's so many people who are already dealing with anxiety at a pandemic, and people just don't know how to deal with this. So tell me, from your perspective and your experience, what's been happening on your end since, I guess, mid-March, when everything started to kind of click up?
Well, starting in March, and actually a little bit before then, when we were seeing this in Wuhan and starting to spread out through Italy. And I had, my son's wedding was canceled because of the pandemic in March. So it's affected my family in that respect. Thankfully, no one is ill, but a lot of the people that I talk to globally, from Brazil, Afghanistan, every country you could think of, have contacted me with stories of loved ones that they have lost through the pandemic, and others who are ill. But it almost seems as if everybody is taking this. It just depends on where you are, on how you're dealing with it. Some people are dealing with it and not seeming to have much of a problem, but others, it's been horrific. for a lot of people. But most of the calls that I am getting are for people that have lost loved ones to this and live in fear. So when you have an anxiety or a form of anything that even an attention disorder, all of these things are multiplied. When you are living with another fear, you're always in a slight state of fear when you have anxiety, and you don't necessarily know when a panic attack is going to come on. I have anxiety, and I can tell you, you never know. But even in this time where you have an outlying fear that you're seeing daily on the news and hearing about constantly, it's just pushing it to the front of everything else that you're dealing with. And you're walking around, I want to say on eggshells, but you're actually walking around on shards of glass. That's what it feels like for a lot of people. And that's what I'm dealing with right now.
I'm wondering, because you are in touch, with the other side, and when people contact you, and I'm wondering if you can share, obviously no names, and what you recall, because I know you don't always probably remember all of the messaging and all of that, but I'm wondering what are you hearing from the other side as far as once people kind of pass over? Are there any messages that you can share that might, I don't know.
Yeah. The other side, I actually had a woman who, again, I won't name her name, but has contacted me. She's in Brazil and lost her best friend, and now is taking care of her friend's 3 little children. And it's very sad. But when I was returning an email to this young lady, actually, her friend came through and just said that, just before she passed, her soul was pulled free, no more suffering, no more pain. And her message to her friend was, thank goodness she had signed a paper. It was just a paper, and letting her country, or however you want to put it, legal form, I guess, that her friend was going to take care of her children. She had left them to her friend. But she was healthy, she was happy, and all she kept saying was, as we've heard this saying before, and this too shall pass, but nothing will be the same again. But not to take it in a negative light. And that's what many of them are saying. This isn't negative. It's frightening, but remember, we all are meant to be born in the time we're in. So we all chose to experience this, and how we choose to accept the situation and how we choose to move forward is up to us. But they have said that good comes out of this. Good will always overcome. Sometimes it may take a little bit longer, but this is definitely testing our patience. Doesn't matter which religion you have, but it's testing your faith. I just believe it's more important that you have faith. That's all. And trust. And of course, listen to what the experts tell you. You will get through this, and you will get through this fine. And on the other side of all this, you will look back, as hard as this might have been, and realize you are stronger, you are better, you are wiser because of it.
So because you were gifted with sight, I am just wondering if, in addition to some of the messages that you've been given through hearing, when you were dealing with the emails,
right?
Can you share anything that you saw as far as, down the road a little bit into the future? Did anybody give you any kind of sight, any kind of a flash forward?
The only flash forwards, because they can honestly, the souls on the other side can only see so far. They can't tell you your future. They can see down the road, and then they'll say, then you get to the curve. And we've been hearing that a lot, right? The curve. But we see the bend in the road, and we can't see beyond that, because then it comes down to personal choice. You are given the guidelines, if you listen to your instincts, of which way to go. How you choose to do that is up to you. But as far as down the curve, they do come up with a vaccine for this. But it's interesting. They don't necessarily know if it will be needed at the time. It's possible that this could run itself out. Should we get a vaccine? Absolutely. But it's for something that could come down the road further, or will they utilize it now? Again, that's up to us. So it's very interesting.
So there are scientists, the
Yeah,
CDC, they're all warning that we might see kind of a, maybe a recurrence of this.
right.
And I'm wondering, we know how viruses can take on, different forms, and
Yeah, they
they
mutate.
might
Yeah,
start at they might start at the
right.
same place, but so
Sure.
you get all these. So I'm wondering, are they showing you any of that? And are, I mean, I hate to say this, and I'm not trying to box you into a time frame,
No,
but I'm wondering, are they sharing anything beyond this?
the only thing that I keep getting is because this virus is, it's a COVID virus, which goes along with, MRSA, SARS, common cold. That's the interesting thing about this. And the way that it mutates seems to be different with the person's biology and the way their DNA is made up, according to their blood types, their lung capacity. I mean, I've read that a blood type A is actually more susceptible with this than maybe an O would be. Yeah,
That's
my
me. I'm
husband,
A
yeah,
positive.
that's my husband, and one of my grandchildren is an A. So it's interesting. And also, again, if you have diabetes, if you have an autoimmune issue or a suppressed immune system, it can affect you even more so. But now we're finding that even healthy young people in their 20s, 30s, 40s are having strokes with this particular illness. So it's tending to mutate in ways that we didn't anticipate. And so that's the interesting thing about it. They are getting, from what I understand from what they're telling me over there, they are getting a handle on this, and they don't expect too many more issues to arise from this. There may be some, but they're minute. And the drugs that they're coming up with, like the Resdemivir and all of these will help, of course, while you're very ill. But they're not saying anything more about. The only thing that I've heard, and I hesitate to say it because I don't like to be a predictor of bad news, and it's because that's not what I do, but they are showing signs of a flushing of the system, almost as if a very bad case of hives can cover, and this is going to happen more, they say, with children than with adults. So it's an early sign, because in the summer it might even look like a very bad sunburn, but it's something to be aware of. But other than that, I haven't heard anything else as far as where this could potentially affect as far as it mutates anymore. And I don't know if summer is going to make it any better, or I don't know.
Yeah, I know time is hard to really tell, I would
It
imagine.
is.
And
Right.
and then the other thing that is really hard for scientists to really pinpoint, and I know that the death of this doctor who died in New York City, she took her own life.
Yeah.
She They now are looking at her brain to see if maybe there's a connection between
Right.
COVID, and maybe it alters the state of the brain, and maybe
Right.
encephalitis. And
Mm-hmm.
so the question is, did the COVID change her enough for her to go to a place that no one ever suspected that she would have taken her own life? She was an ER doctor at the top of her game,
Sure.
and so full of life and
Of
love
course.
and all of that. So
Yeah.
people are so shocked.
Right.
So I want to tie that in with the next piece, which is, they're our frontline workers.
Mm.
They're soldiers, they're an army, and guess what? It's not going to let up for them. I mean, they still
No.
have to go back to their jobs. It's not like COVID. Okay, COVID's done. So listen, why don't you all go on vacation now? Why don't you
Yeah.
take like a year off to recover? They can't,
No, they can't.
because we need them.
That's
And
right.
so I'm wondering what you see for them. I mean, I've got a couple in my family,
I do
and
too. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so scary to think about what they're going through, and the potential PTSD fallout after this.
Right.
And I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people dealing with mental health issues. Let's talk about that if you can with me.
Yeah. The the mental health issues aren't uncommon with medical professionals to begin with. I mean, it's very hard for anyone that works in an ER room to see somebody come through with traumatic injuries that, pass over. But what they're being asked to do right now is to be the life support, literally, as well as the communicator between the families who can't be with these COVID patients. So they're not only seeing things that they've never seen before. I mean, they're not used to treating something that they have no idea of what to do. And it's like being back 100 years when they didn't have anything. It's unfathomable to me how they are, but they are, like you said, warriors, and we are at war with something that we cannot see, and it keeps changing faces for them. So, it's for somebody like this woman that we're talking about, this ER doctor who was a brilliant ER physician, has had wonderful success, and she was a beautiful person. What I heard was the inability to save anyone, or and the constant hours and the beating down of I mean, she was walking through, as many do in the hospitals in New York City in particular, just seeing bodies laying, on in the hallway, and some have already gone, and there's nothing that she could do. And then she contracted COVID.
Right.
And so, correct, it seems that it affected her brain in some way. I don't know what they'll do. I mean, I'm sure they're going to do the autopsy to see if it was, encephalitis, or it caused some kind of damage. But she was definitely not a person that was suicidal. She was, as you said, full of life. But these are the things that we just don't know. But I know she's fine, and I know she's well. And I think her choice in leaving this. See, the thing is with suicide is some people will say, well, it's a way out. It's not a way out. It's a choice that you make, and you have and I'm not promoting suicide in any way, but it was, according to what they're telling me right now, the courage to do what she did. And now that she's over there, she's standing behind these doctors. She's standing behind these scientists and saying, do this, not that. Here, try this, not that. So that's what she's doing of this. So it's not, she was contributing here in wonderful ways, but over there, she's a miracle worker now, because she's helping to find the solution.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty amazing, pretty overwhelming.
It really is. And it's almost like she feels a sense of great relief that I'm out of pain now. Does she regret what she did? A little bit, but not completely, because now, and the other physicians that have passed from this, all those healthcare workers, it's like looking at an emergency room right now where they're all working on the same thing, which is find the cure. And that's what I'm looking at right now, is all of them together finding the cure. And that's why they're there.
Wow. So when you say that, does that mean that they passed over, but they are not kind of in that other world yet, that they chose to stick around?
They're in the other world. That's the other thing too. They're in the other world, but they can also influence what happens here. And so there are people that are empaths and such as yourself, and physicians who are very open-minded. And they're the ones that they tap. And that's what they always call it. We're tapping this one. We're tapping that one to see if, and the thing that happens is it will come to them as an idea, like, oh, wait, did we think of this? Did anybody think of this? And let's try this. This is how it happens. It's how we come up with these ideas. It's not only your own brilliant mind, but someone else on the other side may just be tapping you and saying, here's an idea for you. Try this. And there it is. And then we start looking at different things in areas that we didn't anticipate, like the medicine they found the other day, which is an acid blocker that they found that works in blocking the virus in the stomach so that it does not get to the lung. That's something new. Now, does it mean go out and buy an acid blocker? No, but it's another thing that they're working on, and this came from them. It's just little things they could do right now. Like I just heard her say, she said, right now it's like a Band-Aid to stop the flow until we can find a way to suture it all up, and it's gone.
When you just said she.
Yeah, she's right there.
Can you share me who
Well, it's the woman that passed. Well, and then there's another physician here. I don't know what to call you. Raj. Okay. I don't know. Okay. So he's just saying he was, you contracted COVID too. Okay. So, and he said, I'd worked 17 hours, contracted COVID. And actually he went home and came back where all the protective gear had to continue working.
Wow.
He just made sure that he wasn't giving it to other people, which he did not. You have to take credit for that because you didn't. But he said, this is what we're doing now. You had 3 children? He had 3 children. But they're well. He said, they're well.
Must be very hard for him to have left them.
He says, in a way, but also in a way, I'm saving them, their friends, their families. So it's much more important for me to be here than there now. Because they will survive it, you mean, yes.
So while they're in your presence, if you don't mind, I'd love to kind of find out, there are so many people who are not wearing face masks, and they're such deniers. And it's hard when, you're wearing a mask. I ran into this yesterday, and it's so hard to have people who are really trying, and they're doing their best to do the right thing, and to not, hopefully they're not spreading it to others. That's my thing. If I'm a carrier, I don't want to give it to somebody else. I don't want it. So can you maybe get some messaging from them on that?
And that's the thing, that was probably the mistake that might have been made early. But again, I'm just repeating now. We didn't have the information that we have now. And this is all, we could all play this, rewind this over and over again. However, it is factual that the masks are helping. And it probably should be made, no, you mean mandatory? Mandatory, okay. I can't understand some of the words he says. Mandatory, yes, that all people, if you are going out in public, unless you are outside, but depending on where you are okay, yes, everyone should be wearing a mask. And he's not even saying the cloth things, like the bandanas that people have, those don't work. It should be mandated facial masks should be required for everybody. But the thing is, I'm just going to say that, it's very hard to get them. People have to go out before they can get their order in for those masks. You need to go out. So, yeah, he is saying it's very hard because there are naysayers out there that believe herding immunity is what we need. And I don't even know what that is, but herding immunity.
I can tell you what it is. It's in Sweden. And they believe it's the thinning of the herd. And so if you expose everybody to it, it's going to make people stronger, and the weak are the ones who will die.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. And that's not the way it should. Right. Okay. That's wrong. He says that they will have a big surge in deaths too, because of this fact. They did not listen. They did not pay attention. No one is immune to this. And they will lose a lot of people because. So it's the government that decided not to close them down, right? The government in Sweden?
Yes.
Okay. All people will have to live with the way they chose to exist through this time. But the most important thing he's saying, and you're right, you get worried about being asymptomatic, carrying it, and then giving it to someone else. I think, by the way, he did say, you don't have it. You don't have it. That's good to know, though. But it doesn't mean you can't go to the grocery store, even if you have a mask on and you touch something. And, but if you wash your hands, it's simple science, as they put it. Wear a mask when you go out. Stay a distance apart from everybody. And yeah, gloves don't work. Okay. Why don't gloves work? Oh, okay. Because he says it's just like if you touch something with a glove on, unless you constantly putting hand sanitizer on it, they get dirty just like your hands. Okay. But as far as that goes, everybody should be wearing masks. And He says it's very frustrating to try to make people smart. It's so frustrating because even there, we can try to instill these feelings into someone. Wear a mask before you go out. Wear a mask. And if somebody just, I'm not doing it, it won't happen to me, that's the problem. There is our problem. People choose to not believe it. They'd rather, it's almost as if they'd rather live with that fear of the unknown than actually take the steps to prevent. He says there's so much anger right now, and it's not warranted. It's fear that has turned the tide into anger. And you have to blame someone. So let's defy all the odds. Let's defy all the science and be foolish in the way we do things.
Where is Raj from? Can we ask
India.
where Raj was living?
India.
Okay.
He's from India, but he says he was in New York. So that's the name I keep hearing, Ra. I can't pronounce your name. Well, anyway, I'm calling him Raj.
Okay.
You're Raj for me there right now.
So I'm wondering, Vicki, is there any kind of question that you'd like to get from them? Because you've got grandkids and kids, and you're worried and all of that.
I am. You know, I've never prayed more than I pray right now. And I don't have a religious faith, but I have faith in humanity. And my fear, as they all know, is that people will not listen. And when I mean listen to what your gut is telling you. Soul resides there. It communicates out there with those that are around you. Your family that has passed lifetimes ago, they're still there. And they're trying to give you information. They're trying, even if it's the most simple terms, wear a mask, stay inside. You don't need to go out for this. You know, pay attention. You don't have to necessarily listen to the news 24/7. That actually can, exacerbate anxiety.
Oh gosh, I couldn't agree more. But I'm wondering, now would be a good time for us to give us some concrete ways that people who may not be tuned into things, what can people do? It's really interesting because I tie this in with sleep, and there have been
absolutely
studies done right now that people are not sleeping well, and they're trying to figure out why is my pattern off, and why is it so different than what it used to be? And I'm wondering, not sleep-wise, maybe people are having visitations in their sleep, and how can people tune in a little bit more?
It really, and the thing is, people will say, well, I don't have time. Well, you have time now. You might not have had time before, but you've got time now. And it starts slowly. Take 5 minutes out of a day, sit in a nice, comfortable chair, and just start deep breathing. Don't breathe abnormally. People get confused when it comes to that. And they're deep breathing so much, and they're like, well, I'm out of breath in 5 breaths. Well, no, that's not what we're doing. Breathe normally, in through your nose, out through your mouth, and just try not to think of anything or think of one thing. And my thing is usually just a candle. I think of a candle. Or if you don't want to close your eyes, find something that you enjoy looking at and just try to focus in on that one thing. Make it a game to start with. Because if you're making it into something you have to do, then it's a chore, and of course you don't want to do it. This is for your health. It's for total body wellness. When you can quiet that mind down, you are more able to sleep better. And I would suggest doing it, in fact, before you go to bed. Turn off the tablet, turn off the computer, turn off the TV. Even if you're watching something that you're enjoying, turn it off. No blue screen. A half an hour before you go to bed. And I know for many people that's like taboo. I can't do that. But you can. And I'm asking just 5 minutes. Just relax your mind. Even if you're sitting in bed, just relax your mind. And for 5 minutes, just breathe and relax. And just tell yourself, all is well. All is well. And that's all you need to say. All is well. And sleep will eventually come back to its normal pattern, because this is not forever. This is just the interim. The end will come. And each day when I wake up, I say, thank you. because that's one less day that this virus will be here. So let's just worry about tackling today. Nice deep breathing. If you start to feel yourself in a panic, just go back into a place where you feel, just imagine a place that you feel comfortable, you feel safe. If it's a childhood memory, whatever it might be, just take yourself there for a few minutes until it passes. An anxiety and a panic attack will pass. It's not going to kill you. So get out of that mindset. I'm not having a heart attack. Unless you start having other symptoms, you're not having a heart attack. You're just having a panic attack. And I'm not belittling that in any way. They're terrifying. But you can rise above it, breathe your way through it, and come out on the other side of it. That's how this whole virus thing goes. You will come out on the other side of this, and you will be better, stronger, and wiser.
Okay, so that is excellent advice. And if somebody wants to tap into a loved one, I know that not everybody is as gifted as you are from birth.
Anybody can do it, Tori. Yeah, we all can do it. It's just believing that you can. And knowing the signs. You may not see them, but that's when dreams are very important. Pay attention to your dreams, because oftentimes a loved one does not look exactly the way they did when they passed. Most don't want to. Souls were absolutely stunning and just radiantly beautiful and very young and youthful. So it's always the eyes that will stay the same. The eyes of a soul are always the same. And they could change colors depending on the lifetime you're living, whatever, but they're always the same. But watch for clothing, watch for little things in the background. It's just teaching yourself to be more aware of what's in the background of this dream. Because normally you could be having a dream and a soul will literally just step right into it. My sister, when she visits, I was shopping the other day in my dream, because I haven't been able to go out, if you could tell from my clothing.
Right, exactly.
And she stepped in and she was wearing these fantastic clothes. And I was just like, God, look at you. And, and she's like, well, where am I? Anything's here. But she looked fabulous. But I was looking at an art display at this gallery. Why? I don't know. But it was beautiful. The paintings were beautiful. They kind of took you away. And she just stepped in. So watch out for little things like that. Sometimes it can be a sense of smell or a touch. Usually it's on your hair or your shoulder. Just a feeling, a song on the radio, a commercial, something that's been moved. If you swear you put your keys here and they're, 5 inches away, I didn't put them there. No, you didn't. Someone else is showing you right here. Yeah, we're right here. Here to reassure.
And then babies who are arriving during this COVID, I guess I'm just wondering, is there something special about them? And what about the little babies of today? Who are these babies?
These babies are souls that have not lived for a very long time. Many of them, and I know people will go, okay, she's crazy now. Well, I've heard it before. But these are Atlanteans. That's what they're telling me. The Atlanteans are returning. A great, wise civilization that wiped themselves out because they've got greedy. And if you read about Atlanteans, it's fascinating. But many of them are these highly in-tuned healers, and they created amazing things. And also from the time in Rome and all those other things. They're very wise, and they are choosing to come back at a time when they'll carry us to the other side of these things, and we're going to be going into a better world where it's not me and my phone, me and my tablet, me and my computer. It's going to be more of a community, and more of, I'm thinking of my neighbor, not me. I'm thinking of, because they're all about the kindness in the world. Kindness should become a movement. And I know that's something you're into, the kindness movement and just being there for people. And this is what it's going to do. And the advances that we'll have are just incredible. And these are the souls that are coming in right now.
I would love for you to give your website information and how people can reach you. so that I'm sure people are going to have questions, and you've been so generous with your time with us. And I know you've got a lot of people who want to hear from you or want to talk with you or check
Right.
in. And so why don't you give out that information if you will?
Yeah, you can reach me at my website at vicki@vickimonroe.com, and you can shoot me an email. I'm sorry, I gave you my email address. VickiMonroe.com is my website, and Vicki@VickiMonroe.com, and that's Vicki with an I. You can shoot me an email, ask a question, schedule a session. I only do sessions right now, half-hour phones, but hopefully we'll get back into the in-person, no groups right now, but we're doing our safety thing. So, but yeah, you can always ask a question. I'm here for everybody. Reach out if you need help. I'm here for them. So.
What are you missing the most right now? And I guess I'd love for you to give kind of some final thoughts to folks who are just,
Yeah, I mean, I so understand. I mean, I am blessed that my daughter and her husband live right across from us. So I get to see 3 of my grandchildren daily. And my husband has to work. My son has to work. One of my sons works at Dana-Farber. It's a frightening time. So when people say I'm afraid, I get it. I have fear too. But fear isn't going to do anything. Fear robs you of time, So this is a chapter. It's not a life sentence for most of us. And we will come through this in the end. But I will say I'm missing my mom. And she lives maybe 20 minutes from me. But and my in-laws live just around the corner. I can't see them. I mean, they're in the age bracket. But I miss seeing my clients. I miss seeing my friends. And having anxiety, it's difficult. But I just want to reassure people that this is not forever. It is just a glitch in the road. And there will come a time when we will look back on this and say, do you remember that? Yeah, that was something, But right now, day by day, hour by hour, no more. That's all you need to think about. And the other thing I would tell people, don't be so hard on yourself. They're talking about, oh, I'm eating too much. I'm not exercising. You know what? It's okay right now. It's okay. You're going to be okay. Do what you need to do to get through the day and be kind to yourself. Because if you're not kind to yourself, you can't be kind to anything else. And that's the other thing. Do what you can, and you don't have to do any more than that right now. It's okay.
I want to add to that.
Mm-hmm.
Put on some really beautiful music.
Absolutely.
Dance,
Yes.
and also break out the paints, because you need to shift to the other side of the brain and get away from all of that. And I'm a firm believer in that.
I'm a firm music person. I mean, I'll tell you, it wasn't beautiful music, but I had Def Leppard going like crazy a while ago. I was Armageddon.
Beautiful to you loved it. As long as you love it.
I looked like a crazy person, but who cares? That's the thing. Who cares?
Who cares?
You don't have to hurt anyone.
Who cares? And just go crazy. Just
go nuts. Let your dogs, cats, whatever, dance away. Dance with your plants. It doesn't matter.
And that might be the time that you get a message too.
Exactly. So pay attention to the messages. You don't always have to see something for it to be there. You can feel it. The
beautiful Vicki Monroe. Thank you so much for being here on the Great Reboot. And I guess your Great Reboot, what would you sum it up? What's your Great Reboot from here on out?
My Great Reboot would be to see Tori more. That would be a great reboot for me. And everybody come out on the other side of this and say, I'm friendlier, I'm kinder, and I'm laughing more. I think I found myself when I went within, when I had to stay in, I found me. That's a great way to look at it. Find yourself.
It's a great reboot. I love it. Thank you, Vicki, and I wish you all the best.
You as well, my friend. Love you.
Love you too.